Hello and welcome to my review of Casualty, A History of Violence 7, Waiting, Willing and Able. This aired for the first time on the 10th of February 2024. Now, as always, I have my trusty notebook where I've been writing and scribbling all over it just to make sure that I have all the information that I need. Now, I am quite normal to forget names with this, so please forgive me if I've just written nurse or extra, but a lot of this will come down to the fact that I don't have time to just remember the names of the guest stars, which is a shame, but it's important to remember that. Now, this episode starts in a very interesting way with Max and Jodie getting along. They very rarely have good conversations, and this episode really breaks that tradition by having the opening scene with the music and also showing the relationship with the guest stars as well. We get a nice, interesting conversation. It's also nice. It's also nice to get some character development with Max and Jodie to really have that father-daughter relationship that we don't see very often. Stevie was an incredible choice to replace Max as clinical lead because she has really shone on the role, and I really think it's so important to keep that with her. It's also nice to see Ian and Faith still talking to each other, because it was very up in the air in the last chapter whether they'd still be talking or not. So it's nice to see that A History of Violence will keep them talking and in a great place. Charlie getting angry at the patients was such an incredible scene because it really plays into the episode as a whole. And as a character, we don't get that a lot from Charlie. So to see him, acting out was so good and so different for his character. Max struggling to be a patient is so good for his character because it doesn't feel out of place. A lot of the time they do just chuck character development in with them being a patient and them just being a patient, whereas this one's different. And unlike the other ones in this situation, it really does just make sense. The wedding party added some great storylines for them to go down, and it was really played to its full potential, and I love that. Max being at the protest was not the best for him, but great for his character. And it also was great for Jodie's character as well, because we got to see her concern for Max that we didn't see in her original episodes. So it's nice to see that now. Ian and Jacob's friendship, I've also spelled Jacob wrong, but their friendship is so important to their part of the show. It's not very often that we get to sit and watch a friendship like that, and it's so good. I really like them together. I think they are a great pair. Similar to Teddy and Sar, they just connect really well, and they create some lovely scenes together. The chemistry is perfect. The social media birth in the ambulance, it really does add a different layer to the show, and it adds that diversity that we don't get to see very often from shows like this. Max putting himself in harm's way is so good, but more importantly, it's so true to his character that, unlike some characters when they do this, it just feels like they're doing it for the job. He is doing it because that's who he is, and that's why I love him so much as a character. It's nice to see some of the new extras as well. Like some of the paramedics, we've got some new paramedics, we've got some new nurses as well, just dotting about. Not including like the patients, but like nurses that will just be in the background of episodes. Like I think some of them must have moved on at some point, because we've had the same for quite a while. But it is really nice to see like these new ones coming through. Right. The whole underground for 17 days was a really interesting concept, and I did really like that. And the brothers underground have a really lovely dynamic to them, and I am so happy that that continued through the show. Ashok's bite, which was alluded to through the story, was it was lovely for his character development and for his for showing his worsening dementia, which I'm presuming will continue into the next one, into the next chapter. I think he will go into another home in the next chapter, and then I don't think he'll be with us much longer. But I do think he is going to be a key character for quite a while. Max really does need to start taking treatment and all that a lot more seriously, because right now he's just like, yeah, I'll be fine, I don't care, I want to do my job. Slow down. Work in the office. Go through papers. Don't be doing all the medical stuff, because that puts a lot on you. Max's relationship with the brother was incredible. When they are in that tunnel, they are stunning together. They are absolutely incredible, and I loved it. It's also nice to hear Hems again. For those of you who have joined perhaps more recently, we've not had a Hems episode in quite a while. HEMS stands for High Emergency Medics. Ian was a member of HEMS, and for those people who are long-time viewers, you will remember that that Lev was also a member of HEMS, and they were both they are and were both paramedics. HEMS is a great way of just saying, right, they're off. It's just a push through. It's very rare that we see a member of HEMS be in the main series itself. It was also really lovely to see Jodie so concerned about Max through this episode. It's not very often that Jodie and Max get to share these nice, heartwarming situations, but this episode really does just give us loads. The scene between Stevie and those from the wedding was incredible, and it really does just show what they want to do with the body cameras a whole lot more. Now, Dylan still acts like clinical lead throughout this episode, and for those people who didn't know, Dylan was clinical lead before Max, and Dylan, he tends to lead into these really poor situations with those in the ED, and his relationship with Max is really strained and really interesting to watch, because they were both clinical leads. They both went to school together, and they both have all this history, and it's so interesting to watch. Jodie and Max's relationship is also really interesting, because their final scene that ends it really sets this episode apart from the others, because normally you have that music building up right into the end. This one, it was a very quiet scene, and then we just had that jump into the ending. It was such a lovely scene. The guest cast for this episode have such an incredible acting range. And sorry, I must be rushing through some of this, but the guest cast really have a huge amount of range with this episode, because I'm not trying to be like rude or anything to other guest casts, but this guest cast, they have been happy, angry, scared, confused, upset, crying. They have done everything. One of them nearly got into a fight. It was mad. And I love the guest cast from this episode. It was so different. It's also really nice to see Stevie so vulnerable. In her first episode, she was painted to be a villain and not a very good character for the show, and to target Ethan, who's no longer in the show because he's gone off to be a dad. But yeah, she was painted as the villain of the series. But now she's grown into this really interesting doctor to watch. And from that, she's also grown into this really interesting character to watch as well. This episode at the end really does just show the vulnerability of almost every character. Like, every character in this, a lot of the characters get their vulnerable moments in this episode. Ian gets vulnerability in this. Yeah. So we get Ian, Max, Jodie, Stevie, and Stevie's was especially different because Stevie we'd known for so long, and we had seen her being so deadpan serious, so brutally rude. And then she grew into this character that was so caring towards Faith. And now we have this character now who is so unbelievably caught up in her own world that she is so vulnerable now. And I love it. I love all of it. Now, as always, if you have been affected by any of the points mentioned in this week's episode, feel free to go on to bbc.co.uk/actionline for support. And if you are under the age of 18, you can call Childline at 0800 1111. Casualty is back next week at 9:20 on Saturday, as per usual. Unfortunately, I'm in Berlin next week until Sunday evening at 11 o'clock when I get back into the country, and therefore I will not be watching the episode until Monday. I will still get a video out, but it won't be filmed until probably Monday afternoon. So if it gets out at 3, you're lucky. I highly doubt it will though. So please bear with me on that front. Apart from that, I hope you have a lovely week. For those people who are off on half-term breaks and enjoying their time off this week, enjoy it. Spend time with your kids. Have a great week, guys. I will see you in the next one. For those of you who have stayed till the end, I think you should click here to watch my video on last week's. And you should click here or somewhere on the screen. I can't remember where I've put all my pictures, but you can click there to watch my video to watch my playlist of The New World. Yeah, but as always, I like to ask a big comment question for those who like to stay to the end. So, what you have to do is you have to go into the description and you have to ask, do we think Stevie will last as clinical lead? Literally, yes, no. And make sure you leave a like to lock in your answer. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.